When someone isn't interested, they simply aren't interested. But when it's hard to get, they try way too hard to act disinterested. 117 days. We finally have a climax. The game is finally over. Yesterday, 99% of Philadelphia thought that Bryce Harper was gone. All of WIP thought that Bryce Harper was gone. There was one guy, though, that was telling you guys that everything was going to be all right. And that one guy was me. Bryce Harper is a Philly. The game is over. He's in Philadelphia. Pop the champagne. Let's get it going. Kyle Gaffner is here. I'm Adrian Fedku. Let's talk some Bryce Harper.
So ecstatic, dude. You stayed vigilant. You stuck to your guns. You had said he's not going to go anywhere but here. I tried to believe it and I couldn't. After they left Vegas without the deal, my thoughts just plummeted. I'm like, he's not going to sign here. You know, LA's going to sneak in there. They're willing to pay him a more of an AAB, more money for shorter years. Then he could opt out and hit the free agent market and double up on his cash again. So I'm like, this isn't going to happen. He's a West Coast kid. Everything just kind of like built up to think that he was going to play out West with the Dodgers. And it didn't. I'm so happy, ecstatic that John Middleton, Matt Klentak were able to get this done because this was huge. If they didn't sign Bryce Harper, it would have been a lost offseason because you missed out on Machado and you missed out on Harper. How often do you get a chance to sign superstar players that are just coming into their prime? It never happens, Adrian. They rarely hit the market. When was the last guy? Barry Bonds? The last guy I can remember is Barry Bonds.
I mean, I tweeted about it right before the show here. I was like, the Phillies went from signing or not signing Bryce Harper and the offseason being a complete and utter failure to signing Bryce Harper and it being one of the best off seasons ever. Because not only do you add Bryce Harper, you have Andrew McCutchen, David Robertson, you traded for All-Star Gene Segura, you traded for All-Star JT Realmuto. All of a sudden, this team is stacked.
Yeah, it's loaded. You shore up the outfield, which has been a weakness, and especially now with all the injuries that have happened to the outfield, it was a big question mark. But you get Kutchin there, who's not the MVP all-star player that he used to be out there in Pittsburgh, but he can still get it done. He brings good defense out there. He could pop maybe 15 to 20 in this park, if not 25. Okay, and then you get, of course, Bryce Harper, who's going to give you 45. But it shores up the middle of your lineup. You got that meat in there. You got JT Realmuto who can hit second, if not fifth, behind his name Hoskins or Harper. Like, you can do so much with this lineup because it kind of reminds me of when we had the 08 Phillies. You look at that beef in that lineup and all the bats that they had. You're kind of reminiscent of getting closer to that in 2019. You've got somebody to protect Rhys Hoskins now, who has moved back to his actual position at first base. He doesn't have to worry about the stresses of defense and playing a new position, yada, yada, yada. I'd say he can hit 40 home runs this year, if not more, and you protect him with Bryce Harper. And then you got JT Realmuto who can hit 30 home runs. I mean, sky's the limit for this offense, bro. It is so exciting to have like a beefed up offense, because it's been so long, Adrian, since we could put up crooked numbers.
So obviously in this whole scheme of things, you had Scott Boras and Phillies brass basically locked in a never-ending stalemate for months. Oh. And the reason for that, the Phillies were basically bargaining with themselves because it was reported that Bryce Harper was only interested in a long-term contract. And besides the Nationals, it wasn't reported that anyone else really offered them a long-term contract. And even the Nationals offer, a lot of the money was deferred. Mm-hmm. So the Phillies, they saw this, and like all these other teams that like kind of came in at the end, like the Dodgers swooped in, and you had the Giants with that meeting yesterday. It was all a ploy from Scott Boras, trying to get all these other teams in to increase the value. It's a girl playing hard to get. I read my agents like I read my women perfectly. All right, I know how to read them. And I got this 100%. I was 100% spot on about this. And there were people that were doubting me yesterday.
Yeah, you called it, man. I had gotten worried that the Phillies weren't offering enough. That's what I thought initially, that they weren't giving him enough money, that they were playing hard to get, almost like penny pitching.
They were both going at it. It was a game going back and forth. Like even yesterday, the tweets by Steve Phillips, they duped 99% of the fan base. Do you want me to read them? Did you see those?
Is that the one that said it was a remote chance that he was coming to? Yeah, I ignored all that.
They were leaked by the Phillies. It was very obvious. It was very obvious that it was strategic, because like the last couple of days, I mean, you've had nothing but false report after false report being leaked out from the Boris camp about Harper not being interested in Philadelphia, Harper not being crazy about Gabe Kapler. He's not crazy about the analytics, like all that shit. All those false reports, that was Matt Klentak yesterday basically retorting to those shenanigans. That's all that was.
And that's frustrating to see all that fake news getting leaked out there. It's like, what do you believe? But then when they put that stuff that it was remote, that he was going to get there, and it's like, well, how can you say that? And then there was another report saying that, oh, Phillies are still the front runner to land Bryce Harper and blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, man. And then you've got the meeting with San Fran. It didn't make sense.
The meeting with San Fran was to plant the seed in the Phillies' heads that they were going to offer him a 10-year deal and increase the value. It's all a game, man. It's all leverage plays to try and increase the value of Bryce Harper.
So they did offer him a 12-year deal worth $310 million, apparently, to his team. But do you recall, Scott? We've had history with Scott Boras. If you remember the 1997 draft. Do you recall this? Do you remember what happened with J.D. Drew? And who was his agent? Freaking Scott Boras. What did he say to J.D.? We value at signing bonus of $11 million. Phillies didn't want to pay that. They offered him $3 million from the year before, what the first overall pick got. Okay, that's what they offered him. They played hard to get. Blah blah blah. We all know what happened. We drafted him anyway. They said not to. And then he refused to play for us. He played for some other affiliate called the Saints. I don't remember what organization that was. It was minor. So he got drafted the next year, comes into Philly by the St. Louis Cardinals, and we throw batteries at him. Yes, we did. So it kind of had that back history of Scott Boras trying to dupe us and do us dirty again. But we had the money to spend. We had stupid money to spend. That was the whole goal of this offseason. And then if you wouldn't, not you, but you know what I mean, rhetorically speaking, what I mean is Middleton said, we're going to spend stupid money. If you didn't sign Bryce Harper, this fan base would have erupted. It would have been ugly, bro. Nobody would have went to the stadium. Nobody would have been watching the Phillies. They would have been throwing batteries at Boras, freaking poor Harper, John Middleton. God knows, John Middleton's little granddaughter, if she came walking down the street, it would have been a bloodbath. But now we don't have to worry about that because we got our man. We have the face of baseball in a Philly uniform, and that has never happened in the history of the Phillies, where we've had the face of baseball on our team.
So I'm going to kind of go chronologically here on the timeline over the last 12 days when the games intensified and kind of go through all this. So it started really February 16th. That's when Jim Bowden reported that the Phillies were rounding third and heading to home with Bryce Harper. So you had that. And then the day later, you had Bob Nightingale saying that Bryce Harper, who has been waiting for someone to meet his price, appears to have found that team in the Phillies. There is no deal yet, but ultimately he'll receive 10 years, $300 million plus contract. He turned down from that in September. So you had those two reporters with those two reports. And that goes to what you're saying about that ploy right there was Scott Boras planting the seed in the Phillies' heads. Oh, man, Phillies fans' heads. Oh, man, we are getting Bryce Harper. We're definitely getting Bryce Harper. And the ploy there was, because right after that happened, then you had John Heyman reporting, oh, not so fast. There's another team, the evolving market. So you planted the seed that he was coming to Philadelphia, and all the Phillies fans are getting riled up and they're getting excited. And look what happened yesterday when they thought that Bryce Harper wasn't coming to Philly and how pissed off that they were getting. So what you were saying was spot on.
Yeah, and see, John Heyman isn't a real human being. I honestly think
He's not a real human being.
he is a Scott Boras drone that has got Scott Boras' hand so far up his ass that he is just spewing anything Scott Boras wants him to say. He is his lapdog, his little pet. Because I didn't believe one word when I saw John Heyman was reporting it. I'm like, BS. It is complete BS because those two are like locked at the hip, them two, honestly. But then that Phillips, when you saw that, you had all these reports just coming out of everywhere. And it was funny because did you see the little clip? I forget who sent it from the Dodgers. There was a Brinks truck pulling up, and that's a bank out there in California. And it's like, oh, here's Bryce Harper's money coming in. And, you know, they've got the money to spend, of course. They're going to go over the luxury tax. But I think they would have, if he did sign that deal, he would have been taxed heavily, and he wasn't looking for short term. Yeah. The main goal for him was to be locked up for the rest of his career. Now, I'm trying to remember when Albert Pujols did his deal. It was a 13-year deal, or was it 10?
I think it might have been 13.
It was. I can't remember.
Let me check. Hold on. I don't remember.
He was like 29 when he signed that, right? He was a little bit older. I do recall that, but it's
10,
similar.
10 years, 240.
Okay, so it was 10 years. So he was 29. Okay, when he signed that, I think it was similar with the no opt out, no trade clause. Now, what's awesome about this deal is, of course, he's not getting the most annual average, which who really cares at that point? You know, people figured he wanted to get the most ever, and it's still Zach Greinke that's getting the most annual per average at $34 million. So we get Bryce Harper, who I would say one of the best outfielders out there. And what blows my mind is people are saying, I don't want Bryce Harper, okay? He's a diva. He's this. Like, everything this guy has accomplished has all been before his 26th birthday, Adrian. He's won an NL MVP. I mean, the guy has lit it up for the past 7 years, and he hasn't even hit his prime yet, his peak. He is just on the cusp of entering, you know, the best years of his baseball, and look at everything he's accomplished. Why would you not want a player of his caliber that goes out there, plays hard every day? He fits Philly through and through. And for people to say that I don't want this guy because it's too much money, you have to do this in free agency. Is he worth that? Probably not. But I don't think any of these players are worth the money that they get nowadays. But it's what you got to do. You pay the man for his talents. And you're always going to be paying a little bit at the back end. But it's worth it to pay for at least 5 or 6 years of great Bryce Harper years. And then, of course, he's going to tail down around 37, 38, like we saw the machine do out there with the LA Angels.
Honestly, though, is 13 for 330 really that bad, considering the fact that some people were thinking that it was going to be 10 for 400, that you would have to land Bryce Harper? Some people were thinking that, oh, there were going to be opt-outs. There were no opt-outs. There's no opt-outs in this deal. It's 13 for 330 and not even the 10 for 330. So in a lot of ways, I think this is actually cheaper than what I thought they would get him at.
Yeah, it's great. And and usually in baseball, it's backloaded to where the end of the contract is where you get the most money for the players. I didn't really look at the details of it. I don't know if that's how his contract is loaded. I know Albert Pujols was like that, and most of them are. But then you have that idea of being opt-outs thrown into your head because Nolan Arenado signed that deal, that contract. And I definitely thought it might affect Bryce's contract to where he would want to opt out and he'd want more money because I think it's all about the money. But you don't know. With each player, it's different.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so kind of going back to that chronological order that I was talking about. So we talked about February 17th. Well, February 19th was when Manny Machado signed with the San Diego Padres. And the funny thing about that was, like, right after he signed, there come the reports. Bryce Harper is unsure about Philadelphia. So he's unsure about Philadelphia, which debunked a interview that Gabe Kapler had with MLB Network's Brian Kenny, where he basically said that he and Harper hit it off. So you had this differentiating report from what Kapler was saying on an interview with MLB Network.
And a big thing with Bryce too is he's a people's guy. He got along very well with the brass and the Nationals. He was really tight with their GM and their owner. So he kind of wanted to simulate the same thing with the Phillies. And I think he found that by John Middleton flying out to Vegas 2 times to go see him and his wife and sit down and discuss things, because I think a lot of that does play into a part where people want to be closer to their family, but they obviously hit it off, and he's still going to be on the East Coast. And I hate a lot of these sportcasters that were out there saying, "Oh, Bryce Harper shouldn't go to Philadelphia. Why would you want to go there and get booed and this and that? Look what happened to Mike Stanton." Well, here's a tick. Why would you want to go play out in LA? Okay, yeah, the weather's nice and it's got the glitz and the glamour, but look at those fans, dude. They're not passionate fans. Half of them don't show up till the 5th inning, and if they do, some of them lead out the 3rd. There's no passion there. You want to just get by not doing your best and people not caring. Yeah, we're going to get on you because we're a passionate fan base. We're a smart fan base. We want you to do your best all the time. So that always baffled me that, oh, don't come to Philly, because our fan base gets such a bad reputation, dude. And I don't think we're bad at all. I just think we're passionate, intelligent fans that know sports.
Yeah, we threw snowballs at Santa though, so that's what it is.
We're never going to live that down from the '60s, never, ever.
That's what it is. All right, so after that report of Harper being unsure surfaced, you had Matt Klentak responding with an answer as to why they didn't sign Manny Machado, which I thought was a direct response to Scott Boras, and it turns out it was. So he goes, "There's a certain value that we believe a player brings, and we were willing to get aggressive on this. If the reports are true, then this contract will exceed our valuation. And sometimes you have to be willing to walk away." So I did think this was a direct response. And there were a lot of fans, again, that did not understand this quote, because they were like, "Oh my God, why would you say that you're going to spend stupidly, but then say that you're not going to give a contract that exceeds your value? What the fuck, Matt? What the fuck?" That's what people in Philly were saying.
And you know what it is too? Probably a lot of fans expected that we were just going to throw a big fat slab of cash on the table and that was it. So we wouldn't have this ongoing drama of who's going to sign Bryce Harper and who's going to do this and who's going to do that. But it keeps baseball in tune because you got basketball going on right now. So you're always thinking about baseball in the offseason. So it kind of keeps it fresh in people's mind. And a superstar like Bryce Harper and Manny Machado coming out in free agency, they don't want to do it quick like that. They want to drag this stuff out. And it would be stupid for you not to negotiate too, because imagine if they did go in and then right off the table, okay, I'm going to offer you $400 million for 10 years. No negotiation at all. Like, you're showing your hand right away, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And it sucks because a lot of us get impatient. Like myself, I was getting very impatient because I was just like, dude, 117 days. Like, after the season, we were talking about this. Remember, me, you, and Tony did a video talking about the upcoming free agents. And I think that was a ploy to say Manny Machado was their first option. I think Bryce was their number one option from the beginning. I don't know if they really wanted Manny Machado. They said that he does because they drafted him and Matt Klentak and Andy McPhail down there in Baltimore. And they were the number one guys. And analytically, he does fit us more with the sabermetrics, with how he gets on base. And he has had better numbers than Bryce in the past 3 years. But I think Harper was their main guy. Not only with those comments, remember, with the Johnny Hustle. Do you really want to pay a guy that much money if he's not going to play hard? If he's only getting paid $16 million, imagine now that he's getting 30. You think he's going to run a ball out or do this or do that? I think Bryce Harper is the main guy, and we signed the perfect player to fit our outfield.
Yeah. So, to kind of respond to that. So Manny Machado, they might have viewed him as a better player, but I think the way that they viewed Bryce Harper, they viewed him as obviously a better merchandise seller, a better seat stuffer. I mean, he's the one that's going to sell their tickets, man. I mean, are people coming to see Manny and, his kind of lethargicness, or are they coming to see the show that's Bryce Harper? So they might have thought that Manny was the better player because a lot of people actually reported that they thought that he was the better player, but the better value in terms of making money, ticket revenue, shirt sales, all that's Bryce Harper, and it ain't even close.
The face of the MLB, baby. face of the MLB.
Yeah.
And then I want to throw a point out also because people are like, well, let's move on from Bryce Harper. Here's the other thing I love. Let's move on from Bryce Harper and spend our money more wisely. Do you think that there's pitchers out there worth $300 million? Because I don't. Everybody's enamored with signing Craig Kimbrell. Why? I am not paying a closer who has all those innings on his arm, 6 years, $100 million. Remember when we did that with Jonathan Papelbon and we gave him all that money? Huge mistake. There is no pitchers worthy enough to spend that type of money. It just blew my mind. And they're like, oh, well, we got Trout 2 years from now. Well, you can still go out and sign Mike Trout. Even though you paid Bryce Harper all this money, you can still go out and get a Mike Trout. If so. But I don't think the Angels are going to let him walk. He's going to be locked up.
I don't think we're getting Mike Trout. He's never going to reach free agency.
No, and it would be stupid for them to do that. And I just think people got that idea in their head. Well, he comes to the Sixers and the Eagles games. He's definitely going to want to come and play at home. You know how much pressure that puts on a player? I think that's even more tough to do anything rather than getting paid all this money is to produce in your hometown. I don't think any player wants to do that, honestly. But he's not going to hit free agency anyway, so we're not going to have to worry about it. But imagine if the Phillies did pass on that. That would be people's assumption, like, oh, they're going to just go get Mike Trout. That's the better move.
Yeah. Back to the timeline game. So we reached another level with the shenanigans last weekend when the Dodgers entered the picture. So John Middleton, he took his plane, he flew to Las Vegas, he tried to get his man, he didn't get his man, and then right after he left, here come the Dodgers, and they enter the picture. And it was reported from the beginning that Harper preferred to play for the Dodgers, the Yankees, or the Cubs. And the Dodgers were finally in on him, but only for a short-term deal. So would Harper actually take that shorter-term deal to go to LA and spur the Phillies because he was unsure about whether or not he wanted to play in Philly? That was the seed that Boris wanted to plant in the Phillies' heads. And good for Matt Klentak and John Middleton. They were unfazed by it.
Yeah, I'm right after that happened, I honestly didn't think that the Phillies had a shot. I thought by them leaving Vegas, if they didn't get a deal done right then and there, that was going to leave an opportunity for somebody to come and snake in. You remember a few years ago, well, God, it's been 10 years, when Cliff Lee hit free agency. The big pitcher out there. He was, talked about going to the Yankees and the Texas Rangers. They had the money to spend. We weren't even in mention. And all of a sudden, we snake in because there was a little window of opportunity. And then, boom, the Black Horse team, we come out of nowhere and sign Cliff Lee. Awesome. That's what I thought was going to happen here because the Dodgers were an afterthought at that point. But you look at the team, they've been back-to-back World Series. He's from the West Coast. He wanted to play for the Dodgers. The history there, blah, 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 blah. So I thought there was a good chance that, they can offer him $45 million a year that could blow our deal out of the water, hit free agency in 3 years, and then get paid even more money. Because I thought it was all about – it's always about money, dude.
Yeah.
Money,
Yeah, and then the next thing was Nolan Arenado's contract. And, of course, he had the opt-out after 3 years, which, was being reported by many people that, this was a holdup in the negotiations. Well, it turns out these people didn't know what the fuck they were talking about because they were saying Bryce Harper wanted 3 years, the Phillies wanted 5 years. Well, ultimately, there's no opt-out.
Nothing. And that was actually reported by Howard Eskin himself.
Well, he's the king of being an idiot and false reporting, so no surprise.
He's now banned from WIP.
Is he now?
He is banned. Him and Angelo got into this big tough, and they banned him for leaking false reports because he named his source, and apparently now he's being banned from WIP radio.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, dude, he attacked Angelo, and then Angelo went back and attacked him. It was actually quite comical because I can't stand Howard Eskin. Nobody really can.
Well, I know that they were going back and forth on Twitter yesterday. I didn't know that Howard got suspended or kicked out, whatever the fuck happened.
Yeah, and Spike works for 94.1 if I'm not
mistaken. Oh, yeah, Spike's the program director.
Yeah, so how longer for that? But it couldn't have happened to a better person. He's a schmuck. He's a moron. I can't stand Howard Eskin. His son is awesome, but his dad's an idiot.
Howard was saying yesterday he was the leader of the Phillies were duped train.
Ah!
I was the leader of we're still getting him train.
Yeah, you stuck to your guns, man. You believed.
I feel like such a genius right now because everybody thought he was gone yesterday.
But you must have been getting frustrated with how long this was taking at some
Well,
point.
I mean, it's like it's like the hot blonde girl who you know you're gonna have, but she just keeps playing these games with you because she wants to test you and make sure that you're the right guy for her and all this bullshit. So it's a game of patience. That's
It's true. It is a game of patience, and thank God it's finally over. You know, we're a couple games into spring training, so we want to get Bryce down there, get him acclimated. I know they wanted to get this done as quick as possible because, you know, the season starts in 3 weeks. It's not too far off, so we want to get him down there swinging some bats and getting into baseball shape. Let's get it going.
Oh yeah. So I think that's it for the timeline. I think I pretty much covered everything there. I mean, I'm impressed by the Phillies here. I'm impressed because I made a video yesterday. Like, while I did call this, I did say that they had to increase their offer. They didn't increase their offer. The 13 for 330. That was
their initial.
That was reported a couple days ago. So they never budged. They bargained with themselves. They won the negotiation. They never once had to slip into the stupid money to pay Bryce Harper. 13 for 330 is a bargain for Bryce Harper in a way.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Adding those 3 extra years and putting down the annual average is huge to get this finally done and situated. I think it's a good deal, and they stuck to their guns. And we really didn't know what the deals were because they weren't really reporting what the Phillies had offered. It was kind of like all kept hush hush.
Yeah.
Like, are we not offering him enough? Are we not offering too little? What is going on? Nothing was being reported on the numbers.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I guess the last question I can ask you before we depart, well, explain to the people why Bryce Harper isn't overrated, because there's a lot of people that think he is.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look. People are always harping like, well, look what he's done in the playoffs. It's such a small sample size of what he's done in the playoffs. How can you even judge that? Like, oh, he's only hit 214 and, 3 homers and I think it's 5 homers. I'm like, that's pretty damn good. And what little sample size he has played in. Okay, he doesn't have the batting average, but he's already, like I said, won an NL MVP by the time he was 24. Pretty phenomenal. He turns on his jets in the second half, so he's slow, but he's going to run out balls. He's going to give you his all every game. I think he's fast. He's got power. He's got great on-base percentage. Who cares about average? I don't care if the guy doesn't hit 330. He's going to give me 45 to 50 home runs and 125 to 130 ribbies. I'm okay with that. So the guy is the face of an MLB. He's only going to get better. He's going to get stronger coming into. So we're going to have him for the entire season. He's going to be 26 years old, Adrian. Yeah. And numbers are going to fly. All his games, since he's been with the Nationals, I think he's got 15 homers at Citizens Bank Park, being a visitor, but now he's going to be playing here so much more, dude. I'm predicting he's hitting 55 bombs this year.
He's got a ridiculous amount of homers in a ridiculous amount of small games. We talked about it on PI Live. Somebody had a stat. I forget what it was, but he's got more homers at Citizens Bank Park than any other park. Now, obviously, NL East team, so you're going to have more opportunities, but the point still kind of makes sense there. My thing with him, people talk about the batting average and how he doesn't hit it, but it's okay, whatever. But he had 249 and it was a down year for him, right? He hit 214, I think it was, in the first half, but the second half he hit 350. Mm-hmm. And the 249 batting average, while it looks not so good, he at the end of the day he was 16th in OPS in the entire all Major League Baseball. So it was a down year, and he's still 16th in OPS, and he was kind of okay-ish. So if that's the worst it's going to be, then shit, man. And also the age 27 season is when they say is your prime year, like when you really hit your prime as a baseball player. So we're getting Bryce Harper in his peak prime years, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's 4 years of it.
And I would even say could stretch even close to 31 even sometimes. And who cares about it's all about on-base percentage and hitting the balls in the gap, okay? This is a perfect freaking ballpark for hitters. We are loaded with hitters on this team now. You got to rake if you want to play here. And that's all these players that we've acquired, Segura, Kutch, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper. They're going to hit bombs. And then we've got our homegrown guys. Also, we have a deep farm, so we can still fill holes with guys that are going to be coming up and out. We've got a lot of young pitching still. We had let go of Sixto, but we still got young guys that are going to come up and be effective in the big leagues still. Yep. And there's 3 times out of his 7-year career that he's hit over 300. So people that want to say, oh, he only hit 249. Who cares about that, dude? You know what I mean? It's all about OPS and hitting balls in the seats. 2 things that guy does great, and he's only 26.
I bet you we're going to see a career high in homers this year.
I'm telling you, I think he's going to hit 55 bombs. I don't know.
55? God damn.
I think he's going to hit 55 bombs, dude.
Well, I guess I'm a little bit more on the conservative side because I'm saying 40.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to go above and beyond.
I'll say 42.
All right. Okay. 40. First year, 42. That's still nice. If he can do
5, that's a gargantuan amount. That'd be
huge, man. It's huge.
That'd be impressive. Howard had what? 56 was his highest.
58, I think.
58.
I think when he won.
I think you're right.
MVP, it was 58.
I think you're right. I think it was 58.
Because I'm trying to think. I don't know what his highest, the most home runs he's hit in a season.
Harper?
Yeah, was it
Harper,
40?
I think it's 42. Yeah, you're right. 58. 2006 when he was 26, which is exactly what Bryce Harper is now.
Bing, bang, boom, baby.
So you want to talk about the prime years, right? So that was when Howard 26. So 26 he hits 58, 27 he hits 47, 29 or 28 he hits 48, 29 he hits 45, and then he starts to slide down. 2010, 31, and then 33.
And that's when the injury happened. So he was a bigger guy. So and that's another thing people are pointing out. Well, what if he gets hurt? This guy plays through injuries. He's not just going to be like a diva and be like, oh, I've got a pinky hangnail, I'm not going to play. This guy plays through injuries. He's going to do everything he can to help this team win. This is the type of guy you want. Manny Machado, he would sit out for a bruised thigh or a bruised ball sack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy is going to give you his all. He's a lunch pail guy. Fits Philly through and through, and I cannot wait for the press conference. He is going to be beloved in this town, and when his career is all said and done, bro, he's going to be remembered as a Philly, not a national. It's going to be remembered as a Philly. And I'm glad we were able to return the favor. When they took Worth, well, we took your superstar. Booyah.
And this one was definitely worth it.
Way worth it. Ba-da-bum.
That was too easy. Yeah. All right. I think that's it. That's pretty much it. I kind of wanted to talk about I wanted to talk more about the timeline of the negotiations more so than actually talking about Bryce Harper, the player, because we've done that so much already in the past. So I think that's pretty much it. I any details I forgot during his negotiation?
I think you pretty much hit it on the head. I mean, there was also, and that was the last frustrating thing is if they were to lose out on him, we were just basically playing ourselves at this point.
We were fucked. Like if they didn't get Harper, all of a sudden the Sixto trade looks like shit. That looks terrible. If they didn't get Harper, they're rebuilding again in 3 years.
Easily, because that would have been a wasted opportunity. And it's like, well, what are you doing? And it's not like a lot of teams were vying after him, dude. It was us and the Giants, really, the two teams that were heavily. It's not like you were having like 7, 8, 9 teams. And then to go back to people saying, well, Mike Trout's going to hit free agency. You don't think there's going to be at least 15 teams trying to get him as opposed to Harper, where it was only 2 or maybe 3?
That's why it dragged on so long, because there were a limited amount of teams involved.
And that would have sucked even more if we would have lost him, because we were basically fighting with ourselves. It's like, what are we doing? There's no other competition out here. Let's get this done, baby.
Well, that's why it took so long. The Phillies weren't budging, and they were trying to pull other teams into the negotiations to try and up the value, and there we go. So hey, at least they got it done before March.
Yeah, thank God. So we could get him into spring training. Yes, March is tomorrow. Thank God, dude. So he needs to get down to Clearwater, start getting some reps in, and I don't think the Phillies are done. We could still see a trade for another starting pitcher, I believe. But if not, you've got 2 stud pitchers hitting free agency in Chris Sale and Garrett Cole. So we could possibly throw some money at them if we can acquire them to spend more stupid money.
Yeah. All right, we're done. I got nothing else. What are your final thoughts?
I mean, that was my final thought. You look at this team, you've got more power bat, and he adds a left-handed bat, which we were sorely lacking in the starting lineup.
And that's another reason why he was more valuable than Machado.
Crucial. So you've got – well, now with the injuries to the outfield that we have, I don't know if Nick Williams is going to be on the move. We might be keeping him up here. Roman Quinn is now out, and Adubel still has that injury to his thigh.
Yeah. My final thought, man, freaking nailed it, bro.
Awesome.
This was like an all-timer for me.
Huge.
Because I was spot on about everything.
You hit it on the head.
Thing.
You stuck to your guns and you called it the whole way. I've never had so much ups and downs through the last 4 months. Like I had like deep depression.
Everyone who said, "Yo, Adrian, he's not going to sign," I'm like, dude, relax. Relax. He did.
I think it was the timeline because it took so long. That's why I feel like everybody was being negative.
Yeah, and then the impatience starts to hit you, and you're like, "Oh my God! If he would have signed, he would have signed already." Like if a girl is interested, like she would show the interest. But sometimes, they play a little hard to get, and you got to work for it.
It lingers. It just sticks in your head. Like, why is this taking so long? Because every day everybody was glued to the TV. Like, are we going to sign Bryce Harper? Is it happening? What's going on? It was like everybody was glued to their phones or ESPN or whatever it was, and it's finally over. Thank Christ. Thank you.
It is over for sure. And this show is over as well. That is Kyle Gaffner. I am Adrian Fedque. Bryce Harper is a Philly, and I can't wait for the summer. It's going to be a lot of fun. See you guys.
Peace.